Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Masters of Self University podcast. I'm your only host today, Ellie Lee. Nice to see you all. And I am joined here today with Christie Cunneyworth, who is a mystical coach of Oneness and Master Self University. Hi, Christie.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. So let's start with this. I love your topic today, and I know that you just got a new little puppy, a little new addition to your family. And so let's start with all of that because I know you want to dive into some attachment stuff today.
Totally. This has been coming up for me a lot lately in my relationship with my pets and also in my relationship with partners. And Rachel Fiori once said, "You will lose everything that you are attached to in this work as you elevate." And she basically gave a beautiful warning that you should learn how to heal your attachment programs so that you don't have to lose everything. And it's been really interesting to witness with Will and I got a puppy. We've had him for almost 2 months now. He's an Australian Shepherd. And to witness what comes up and what has been coming up and moving through me in the presence of now being responsible for a little being like this. And to have this level of consciousness when taking on the responsibility of a new pet. I have had a dog before. It was when I was 24, and I feel like I thought at the time I was doing a great job. I didn't really do any research, and I kind of just went by the seat of my pants, and I raised this dog alone. And it's just so different now. Everything feels so different in the way that we're doing things. So it's been really wild.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that too, because, I've had my dog now for 5 years. And 5 years ago when I got her, I was like, oh, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And like, as long as she's loved, I'm good. And actually, over the 5 years now that I obviously am more conscious, I realized where I wasn't showing up in the way of responsibility, where I bred entitlement in her, where I wasn't showing up for her, where she needed to thrive, and like, not allowing her to have complete freedom in her life was because I was showing up as super irresponsible and very permissive, because nobody actually ever taught me that. Like, I had no idea that I had to do research on the breed, or like I had to do research on like how to, give her the best life ever. I thought just showering her with love and giving her the freedom to do anything that she wants was the way to go. And it wasn't until all these hard lessons started to come knocking at my door where I was like, wow, I am so irresponsible, and I am not showing up in the way of honoring of her and what she needs, and what do I need to become so that she can thrive. Like, and I think a lot of people think, oh, it's just a dog. And it's like, no, it's not just a dog. Number one. Number two, this being comes into your life to really shine a light on a lot of things you wouldn't have been able to see if it wasn't for this beautiful being.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I completely resonate with the entitlement programs, and I thought going into this we were going to be such conscious, enlightened parents, right? Because of the work that we do.
Yeah.
And we were so privileged to synchronistically meet this woman who's a dog psychologist. And she's 70 years old. She holds an energetic vibration that I've never really seen in a woman of this age. And it was unbelievable for her to come into the house, and she basically watched us walk from the vehicles outside of the house with the dog, watched their interactions for about 5 minutes, and sat us down and said, "So I assume that you invited us here because you'd like to know what you're doing wrong with your dog. So let me tell you." And immediately she said, the way that you're speaking to him with your high voice, you're coming from a place that you want the reaction that he gets when he hears your high pitched, "Oh my God, yay, I love you so much." And he'd get all excited. And she said, well, she didn't label it as attachment, but through through the interaction, I realized that I was attached to the way that he responded to me while using this voice, this tone of voice.
Mm.
That when we would greet him, we would get him all excited and all, "Oh my god, oh my god," and then we'd want him to calm down, but he'd have all this energetic excitement. And so it's been a really interesting process to break it down and start to develop this relationship with this dog without using voice and using energy only, which ultimately is what she suggested. And the first day that we did that, I went through all of this wounding because he wasn't responding to me in the same way. He was so upset with me because we were starting to leash train him in a different way because we wanted him to be a free dog, and he was so good as a 3-month-old puppy off leash.
Mhm.
We were like, "Oh, no, he's good." And of course, she taught us that dogs are meant to actually be led, and these
Yeah.
puppies need a leader to teach them the ropes.
Yes.
And he was so upset with me that first day that I went through this process of pain and sobbing that I've just hurt my puppy and he's never gonna look at me the same. And it has been absolutely wild to witness the days after as I kept processing this pain that I felt at this fake attachment that I had developed, this fake love that I
Mhm.
was developing with my puppy that was actually a level of attachment and codependency.
Mhm.
As we broke it down and then we generated something new in its place, I can now control him using energy without words,
Mm.
which is a level of depth and connection that I wanted in the first place, but didn't realize what I was doing wrong.
Yeah, so okay, so and this is what it is, right? So when you say fake love and not understanding truly that the one thing that they need from us is for us to be leaders. They desperately want us to lead. They want to be guided. They want to learn what it takes for them to have structure, stability, safety, and we are their teachers, right? Just like parents are our teachers to us, right? And
Yes.
so when we're raised to think that, well, complete permissiveness and do whatever you want is love, and you realize like, no, that's not love, because look at the programs that get created out of it. When I started to learn and understand that the way that I was showing up for my dog, like me too, when I had my trainer be like, straight up, she told me, she's like, you have an entitled dog, like she needs to go in the crate when after a walk, or she needs to go into a crate when she's eating. And I could feel my programs going, no, but I don't want to put her in the crate. I'm like, she's not free. And it's like, no, the fact that you're not giving her structure and not leading her, she isn't free because of that. Right.
Yeah.
And so I have to process things constantly when, I have to put her on leash when she's unleashed, or like when I have to crate her when I don't want to crate her, because that's my own stuff. Like that's completely my own stuff. And I am completely keeping her at such a disadvantage when I'm not stepping up into the leader that she needs me to be. Like, and this is where like the backwards, like upside down world comes from, right? Like everything that we think that we're doing is right for them is actually, it's not right for them. Right. And it's always our stuff to process what it makes us feel when they don't like the structure, when they don't like the discipline, or when they don't like the, no, mom's got to put you on leash because this is the way the best you're going to learn. Right. So
Yeah.
all that stuff that you feel has to come up because now you're not doing things the way that you wanted to do it. It's the way that they need you to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you said a beautiful statement there. She's not free.
Yeah.
And that lands for me so deeply because I wanted to raise a dog who feels free, and yet, of course, that's actually me projecting my need
Yes.
for freedom.
Yes.
And, this is one of my core wounds, is wanting to be free in a society that has obviously enslaved us.
Yeah.
And so that's me projecting my wounds onto the little puppy, thinking he needs to be free when in reality, you just said it, he needs the leadership. And it's so interesting to watch his behavior change. He was so good off leash. Of course, he was a 3-month-old puppy. He didn't
Mhm.
actually know what it meant to be good off leash if there was a car but
Yeah.
yet he'd follow, he wouldn't run away.
Yeah.
And when you'd put him on leash, he'd be really stubborn and he would not follow any direction. He'd just sit down, look at you, and be like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And then once this woman came in and she did the majority of the training, it took about 20 minutes. She put him on this leash and she basically said he's going to protest. And he yelped and yelped and yelped as she didn't drag him around, but it's a special leash that holds the chin and the back of the head.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically said, if you control the head, you control the dog. So
Mhm.
it doesn't choke them at all. It just controls their head, and so
Yeah.
you move it around. And it took about 20 minutes, and he protested and screamed and cried and made a huge big fuss, and my partner and I are both sitting there going,
Yeah.
feeling like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god."
Yeah.
And his behavior completely shifted. So
Mm.
then all of a sudden on the leash, he's great. He's amazing. He follows right beside you. You've got this control. You can, and it's not negative control. It's like
Yeah.
leadership control. I
Yeah.
can tap my leg and he comes right and sits right down at my feet because he knows that I'm leading him on this leash. And when he's off the leash, now his
Mm.
behavior is erratic. He's completely unpredictable. He runs off and he won't come back
Mm.
because we're now training him with the true leadership. So when he doesn't have that, you can really see the child, the little baby puppy come out wanting the freedom, right?
Wow, that's so funny. That's so fascinating to witness for sure. And what is it what has it brought up in you when first when you saw her doing the leash thing to him? Because obviously like it probably triggered a lot of stuff like watching your child like yelp or scream or whatever. And like that stuff too is our stuff to go into, right? So what
Yes.
because a lot of people will take that and they'll go, this is what you're doing is torture or what you're doing is abuse, aka I can't handle what it brings up in me when you're showing my child, a discipline or control or stability, whatever structure that they need. So what did it bring up inside of you when you saw that?
We knew that we landed with this woman on a deep level. So when she came in and started teaching us things, it was just these like light bulbs going off
Yeah.
in our heads. We're both like, whoa. And she gave Will a couple teachings because for him, he was playing really rough with him and then wondering why he was biting his ankles.
Mm,
Right? Whereas for
yeah.
me, it was the high voice that was the big thing. And so when she did that, she's so talented at what she does. She explained it so beautifully that he is going to protest. He is going to act this way. This is exactly why he's doing it. And so when we saw it, like, you could feel, oh my God, like, oh, I'm so glad she's doing this. But
Mm.
it, you know, there wasn't really much. Like, there definitely wasn't any projection on her. There was more gratitude, so
Yeah,
much
yeah, yeah.
gratitude for what she was doing. And then the next day when I did it myself, like he definitely protested a little bit, but it was more just like a little wiggle of like, what is this thing? And then you'd practice the technique that she taught and he would come along really well. So to be able to see the changes so quickly
Yeah.
allowed us to kind of recognize how beneficial it was. Like I knew even just the way this woman came into my life, it was all synchronistically guided. I
Yeah.
knew she was meant to be there for a reason. So there was a lot of trust in the process.
Mm.
I did notice in the next couple weeks that followed, especially when it comes to doing the research this time with getting a new puppy. I don't know about you, but the internet right now has a lot of info out there,
Mhm.
and not everything is true or aligned. And, I have 2 science degrees with a lot of evidence-based practice research where you were taught how to read through the lines of what you're teaching, what you're learning, and I was finding it really, really hard to discern what information actually aligns for me. All the information is out there, but there's 100 different ways to raise a puppy.
Mhm.
So I'm reading all of it and getting quite overwhelmed and then dropping into my heart and feeling into what I actually wanted to do to raise this puppy wasn't really in alignment with much of what was being taught. When it
Mm.
comes to vaccinations, when it comes to feeding the way that I want to feed him. And so that was a lot of the stuff that was coming up was, oh my God, am I going to harm my dog because I'm doing it a different way?
Mm.
Everybody that I called, he had worms at one point, and all the vets told me that I had to get him on this medication, ASAP. Oh my God, poor dog, really quick. Um, and I did do a little bit of research and found some diet changes that could work and thought, okay, well, you know what? I had been told that he needed to get on the medication on Friday and we couldn't access it till Monday. So I put him on a couple things and he's had no symptoms, no more worms. And yet everybody still said that he had to be on the medication. So
Mm.
it's been a process of learning how to trust myself on a deeper level. And that's been kind of the bigger thing that's been coming up for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that I've noticed that I do and I've done a lot with my dog is just like project a lot of powerlessness. So not seeing her as like a divine, powerful being herself. And so projecting a lot of like, she can't handle that and she doesn't like that and don't do that. And, and it's like, no, she can. And this is how she truly is going to thrive, is when you alchemize all the uncomfortable feelings that get brought up in you when you do see her, whatever, something that she doesn't prefer, something doesn't enjoy, coming from an upbringing with me where there was so much permissiveness. And so like just the amount of projections, and just the amount of like, I can't handle what she feels inside of me. So let me just do everything to like not make her feel that way. And it's like, when I see that happening with humans, like I saw this video recently of like this mom, like doing everything she can so her son wouldn't feel like conflicted about something, right? So she's like trying to save him and trying to make him feel better. And I watched that. I was like, oh, I would never be like that. And I'm like, no, that's to show you how actually you are with your dog. And it's like, that's a powerful being. Like lead them from a place of power, not from a place of powerlessness. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, another area that this attachment has been showing up, so that was like part of it, right? Is recognizing that I need to make the decisions. I know how to make decisions from my soul if I drop in and feel all of the fear that was coming up for breaking out of the system, not necessarily doing what, the AI Google research says to do, and feeling the fear of harming my pet. And I was actually, as I was going through this, there were nights that I'd wake up in the middle of the night thinking he wasn't breathing anymore, or thinking these completely irrational fear-based thoughts, and being able to recognize in the moment, like, oh, there's that fear coming back. Like, okay, there it is. Like, do the work, drop in, feel what this actually feels like, and alchemize that little girl, because ultimately there's a very young little girl who is screaming, please don't leave me. Please don't leave me. And that's the healing that really needed to happen. Is I was so excited after I lost my last dog. I waited, until this soul basically chose us in beautiful divine timing to get another dog. And now that he's here, that feeling of like, oh my God, my heart feels so full and complete. And please don't leave me was something that I had to work on over and over and over. The first 3 weeks was insanity with respect to the decisions I was making, waking up in the middle of the night, being so terrified that like, we're not letting him outside alone or anything, but being so terrified that like, the cougar's going to swoop in, like all of these irrational fears that were coming up that I had to be able to identify as attachment and kind of surrender to whatever divine timing is. Because there was also a voice, again, whether this is a mental program or intuition, there was something that said that you won't have him that long. And so again, whether that's complete fear-based or if that's an aspect of truth, regardless, the process is still the same, right? Surrender to whatever it is, to surrender to that fact. And so I was actually sitting with that, going through the motions as if I was aligning to knowing that this puppy that I'm training and so excited to be with for the rest of his lifetime, what if that lifetime is quite short?
Hello, podcast listeners. Just a quick announcement for you here. We are currently enrolling for our summer semester. 2025 summer semester begins in May. And as we're in April right now, we are currently launching our student enrollment meetings. These are completely free. So if you are interested in learning more, all you have to do is go to www.mastersofselfuniversity.com. Hit the enroll now button and you'll see about 8 different options for the month of April, 8 different meetings that you can attend to learn more about what we offer throughout the whole year and what it's like to sign up as a student, what you'll receive, and all the magical and mystical things that you get to experience as an enrolled student. So if you're interested in that, go to our website, hit that enroll now button and select one of the times. And please enjoy the rest of this podcast episode. Thank you.
Yeah. So when you hear that, right? Because that to me feels like a mental program because I can feel the fear in it, right? And like I run that too. Like my dog is 12 years old and I'll be like, oh my gosh, she's gonna die. and I'll be like, oh my God,
Mhm.
Ellie, like, and I can feel completely, that's completely rooted in fear, right?
Yeah.
And and this is what a lot of when you're unconscious and you don't know that you run these programs, right? I mean, think about how many people, not only to their dogs, but to their cats and to their children, bring all of their stuff into it, right? So, like,
Mhm.
if you weren't doing the work, all you would be bringing so unfairly, and this is what we all do, to this little puppy's life of like this constant fear. And then it's I'm going to be overbearing. I'm never going to let you out. I'm never going to let, because what if you die, or what if a cougar comes in? It's like how unfair it is to this little being to have all of your stuff on it. But like, obviously you're doing the work to see it and alchemize it. But like, man, this is what we do to everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Not to mention on a deeper quantum energetics perspective, what are we creating in our energetic fields
exactly.
that actually does become our reality,
Right.
right? And perhaps that's part of what I was even hearing is if you don't
Yeah.
deal with this level of attachment, which was intuitive, right? If you don't
Yeah.
deal
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
this level of attachment, this will be the reality you create because I'm so aware that anything we're attached to, we will lose.
Yeah, that's so funny you said that, because at the beginning of my relationship with Danny, I was in so much codependency. I was in so much attachment. I was really seeing the programs and the wounding, and I would constantly run this mental program of what's actually going to happen is we're going to take him away so you can feel the depths of all of this. And I would go into like a frenzy, and that would ruminate, and I would be in constant flight, fight, or freeze. And I'd be like, what's happening right now, Ellie? Like, what are you
Mhm.
actually creating for yourself? Just process and go into the codependency attachment and stop attaching to all these mental programs that are being created from your lack of processing these programs, because all it does is create so much suffering. And then it's like hilarious when you take a step back, you're like, what are we doing? Like, why are we choosing to do this? It's insane.
Lack of education,
Yeah.
lack of understanding, and if anything, like, we've been completely educated, brainwashed and conditioned to be this way specifically, so of course that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
It's
fascinating.
wild.
Yeah. I know too you wanted to talk more about like not only attachment that you've seen in your dog with you, but also in your relationships in general.
Yeah, so this is a beautiful segue. Um, I've been with my partner Will for almost 5 years now, and when we met, we were polyamorous, so we were in open relationships. Um, and so I have had the privilege, the honor, and also, the great eye awakening lessons of having another partner at the same time for 2.5 years. And through this, it's been the most unbelievably eye opening experience to see what we deem as true connection and love versus what we disregard as a difficult relationship or something that we would say that it's something to walk away from.
Mm-hmm.
And my partnership of 2.5 years, I ended it last April because I was hearing very, very clearly this is sabotaging your growth and this is no longer taking you where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
But what I ultimately realized is he showed up a lot in avoidant programs,
Mm-hmm.
which was then pulling me and causing me to show up as the anxiously attached at times. Um, but on the whole, if you were to look at the two relationships from an observer perspective, and the three of us did spend a lot of time together, and one relationship looked fluid, flowy, easy. We had so much fun together. We played amazingly. We skied and we did all these great things. And we just always wanted to spend our time together. The other relationship was very rocky, very uncomfortable, very triggering constantly. And in this opportunity to be, the pivot position in a relationship dynamic like this, a lot of the times I was being offered the opportunity to choose who I spend my time with, and I was very often choosing the fun, playful relationship. In the end, that turned out to be the relationship that was the avoidant, anxious attachment,
Mm-hmm.
and yet in our society, anyone who saw these relationships could see that one was or looked like on the surface that one of these relationships was, even quote unquote successful versus, not. And, on the whole, doing this work in myself, being able to, over time, learn how to feel into subtle energies, start feeling into the subtle energy of what I actually loved about that relationship.
Mm.
The one that I thought was fun and play and easy actually had a subtle energetic vibration of ick, of like, smells like roses, but is that a little bit of poop underneath?
Mm.
And then once I really started smelling it, then I couldn't stop. And
Mm.
the ball started rolling, and I started recognizing that this relationship was actually sabotaging the progress that I was making in MSU and the work that I was doing. It was just wild. Like, the energetic frequencies that we would create together felt really amazing
Mm.
because they were from attachment, because they
Mm.
were from a level of frequency that we're so accustomed to. But on the whole, this relationship was actually not serving my soul or my highest good at all. And in being able to recognize that, and it took me 6 or 8 months to do so, then ending the relationship. And I'm the first to admit, the whole process was a difficult process coming from a little girl who's scared to let go of what she loves. Like, in reflection, like, I don't love the way that it came down and everything that happened. And at the same time, like, my soul very clearly is in alignment with the decisions that I made. And now, in the relationship dynamic that I'm in, what has been able to sprout and grow in the absence of this other relationship has been absolutely profound. And I never would have thought that this would have come through letting go of something that doesn't serve you. But of course, as we know with this work, that is the way it works.
Yeah. And so in your current relationship, while you were, also dating the other person, you said that that this relationship was rocky and the other one seemed very playful and like,
Mhm.
so what was the dynamic of the other relationship? Why was it rocky? And like, was there attachment there?
Yeah, so that relationship was rocky because we were constantly triggering each other. We
Mm.
are very polar opposite in a lot of ways. And so we are mirrors in the opposite spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And versus my other relationship, we were mirrors exactly the same.
Mm.
So slightly different dynamics. And it, again, to be able to just witness this in real time and have a relationship with one and also with another, to be able to see the differences and feel what it feels like, has allowed me ultimately to see a lot of what has happened here.
Yeah.
So this relationship, yeah, we were just constantly triggering each other. There was a lot of stuff coming up. And because of our relationship dynamic, I would run avoidant programs and choose to spend my time with the other partner instead. So it really
Ah,
enabled me to be
yeah.
an icky, irresponsible human,
Good
because I
job
could go,
seeing that.
oh, for
Yeah.
sure. So
Yeah.
I could go and hang out and have this beautiful time with this beautiful human, and we would
Yeah.
have so much fun. And I
Mm.
could just run away from going into the deep work with this other partnership.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful growth. Because listen, most people would choose to just be like, I'll just stay in this because I could just run back and forth and like I could avoid at all times. But that's growth for you
Yes.
to really be able to see that.
The amount that I've seen through all of this
Yeah.
is mind-boggling. And, I have so much gratitude for my current partner, who also was healing a lot of his own wounds during this experience, which, ultimately we both learned what we needed to learn to be able to come together in this higher elevated state, to be able to even step into what we're stepping into now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely been a tough process and a tough pill to swallow at some of the ways with which I've shown up in these relationships to,
Mm-hmm.
Enable myself um, to stay trapped in my wounding. And ultimately that's what that my 2.5 year relationship was,
Yeah.
right? It was enabling me to be this worst version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing on him. He's a
Yeah.
beautiful man.
Yeah.
And yet, what I was stepping into and my lack of power to be able to expand out of that in that relationship, because of how strong the energetic frequencies were,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I had to choose to just step away from it because I knew that I realized that I wasn't behaving with integrity or responsibility
Nice.
or honoring of my other partnership in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And of yourself too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Nope.
I
I'm very good at avoidance.
I
That's
mean,
I've definitely learned.
I'm also a professional in that. I also have a master's degree in that, so I
Yes.
totally get it. I'd love to just go into a little bit of attachment because I think for a lot of people out there, because we've been born and raised in this world that nobody teaches us, you know, connection to our divinity. Nobody teaches us how to find the love and the power within ourselves. So we're constantly looking at for outside, you know, outside of us. Every movie, every TV, every book is always like, you know, find it outside of you, find it outside of you. And then we have all of these, you know, really deep inner child wounds of like probably one or two of your parents didn't give you the time, they didn't give you the love. There was a lot of dismissiveness, a lot of coldness, a lot of lack of nurturing, whatever it is. And then, you know, we create this program of attachment, right? And so I'd love to just go a little bit deeper into this because when I started to see, I always knew that when I was in relationships growing up, the way that I was acting in it wasn't right, but I didn't have the language to put in it, right? So I always just thought that like, okay, I'm pretty messed up, but like if I can just get a guy to like really just stay in this with me, then like I'm safe and I'm good and like I won't have to feel everything that's underneath all of that, right? So go deeper into how you started to really see and feel the attachment, especially with the last partner.
Yeah, I mean, what I really started noticing is the subtle energetic frequency. And I started really recognizing that in my moments of extreme distress, because there were these positions that I'd get myself in that my mind wouldn't be able to comprehend. Like I'd be so in my head about
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
that then I'd have to drop in and do the work. And I constantly kept coming back to, you need to remove yourself and go back to like be with yourself in this moment. And
Yeah.
so I started noticing the energetic frequency that we created together that didn't feel good.
Mm.
And this human is someone who I would say lives deeply in the spiritual matrix. And so we aligned really, really closely together with our egoic perspectives that we thought we understood spirituality and the
Yeah.
nature of the universe. And what I realized is we were constantly just talking about it. And
Mm.
I started dating this man right when I started MSU. So as I continued and elevated and started learning, oh my God, Christy, you're actually completely in your head with all of this, and you don't actually embody any of this true spiritual behavior. You're just talking about it and truly believing and thinking that you live in this realm. Um, we started equal, so to speak.
Mm.
And as I'm learning to realize all of these awful, icky things in myself, what was really happening is then I would approach it with him and he would deny the truth because, of course, he still was in the same state that he felt that he was embodying
Of
all of these
course.
things that I was starting to realize, oh shit, we don't embody these at all. And that was kind of the beginning of the end, is that I was really dedicated to seeing the truth of the situation there, and I wanted him to come with me, and I wanted him to be able to see it with me.
Mm.
So we were then starting to have more and more conversations in this realm, especially as our relationship went on, and I kept doing the work with MSU. The discrepancy grew and grew. So then I started realizing, okay, well, to keep the peace in this relationship, we can't have this level of conversation anymore. Because
Mm-hmm.
now we're not even speaking the same language.
Right.
And
Right.
that was really wild to witness because he is so good at talking his way into understanding that then
Mm.
I had to question if I'm out to lunch or I'm delusional or what I'm coming to is in actuality not the truth of the situation. So it was very, very powerful to move through this whole experience.
Wow. Good job. Good job. Because, like, yeah, when you start getting, especially with someone who knows how to talk well, like the gaslighting and the manipulation is so sly and so slick. And then, yeah, I've been through that too, where you start questioning everything. Like, am I nuts? Like, am I the one that's on the run? Am I? And it's like, wait a minute, hold up. And then you start to see like the programs that they're running on you. And it's like, okay,
Yes.
yeah, no. And that's all rooted also in probably fear of losing you, right? Fear of not wanting this to end.
Of course.
Fear. Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating.
So the most interesting part is, as this is all starting to happen, I'm starting to recognize, then I'm starting to share with him my true feelings of like, hey, it feels like if we can't start to have these types of conversations, we might not be able to continue this relationship, because it really feels like you don't want to hear what I'm trying to say. And even in that, he never really heard me.
Yeah.
So I spent 6 months sharing exactly where I'm at from my perspective and how this relationship was about to end. But then when it actually ended, he spent the next while being pretty upset with me, saying it came out of the blue and that he had no idea that this was coming, and I didn't even give him an explanation. And it was quite wild to even just sit there and witness that, when I felt that I had just spent months trying. And here's where, probably trying to get him to come with me, right? Because I didn't want to lose him. So was I really articulating it from a place of power in the way that I was actually setting boundaries? Or was I speaking from a place that was the abandoned or wounded little child that was trying to share what she was saying, but she also didn't want to get in trouble and she didn't want to lose the love? So, that's been a process to go through as well. Was I really being as clear as I thought I was when he felt that he heard nothing of what I thought I said? Was it me? Him? Of course it was both of us to some degree. But
yes. Yeah. And awesome awareness that you can see that too. That like, yeah, maybe I wasn't completely coming from a place of power. Maybe there were a lot of other, energies that were flowing through out of me where he didn't grasp the message. I mean, it's all part of the growth, right? Like, it's all part of, like, you need to be able to move through all that to see all of that 100,000%. So
totally.
Yeah. And now you're out of it. And I'm sure, you've grown so much in the last year, and now you're with this one partner. And listen, girl, like, I'm dating one man, and that's a lot in itself. And there is so much sacredness to like what the two of you can create together and how much you can grow, especially when two people are on the same page.
I completely agree. And, it's through this process of learning and becoming that I've actually recognized that a lot of my deeper rationale for polyamory in the first place. And like, let me tell you, I was the girl in high school who dated two brothers and was told, you have to choose one of us. And I said, why? What do you mean? Like, why not? And I have always had this perspective that I wanted freedom to choose who I love. I've always had this conversation with any partners that I'd have, that I'd say, hey, if you meet somebody that you want to spend time with or you resonate with and you're curious about, tell me about it. Go for it. Like,
Wow.
I'd never want to be the person to hold you back if you are starting to think that I might not be the right person. And while that still remains true, there's aspects of freedom that I needed and that I wasn't getting. Like, aspects of freedom from a wounded place that caused me to choose polyamory opposed to monogamy. And aspects of only ever having seen failed monogamy, that thinking that I had to swing the pendulum to the other side because I am a professional at that. So swinging the pendulum and thinking that, well, monogamy doesn't work, period, end. So let me just swing it and try something completely different. And, that was also an aspect of lack of responsibility, because I've never shared finances with a partner, even though I lived with partners, and we never really integrated our lives together because I was hyper independent. And this is what's happening now, is we're really integrating our lives. We have a fur child, and I really couldn't be more grateful and excited with where we are heading to.
Yeah.
Even though there's still a lot of triggers. And I am privileged to be learning this work alongside him. Because it's like nothing else, and it too, Ellie. We are the lucky ones of people with partners who have, we've been together 5 years and we have grown so much together. And now that we're on this path, learning the MSU work together is pretty powerful and pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we don't know what actual conscious partnerships are, right? We've never been modeled to them. We've never seen it. It doesn't exist. And to be, some of the first people to ever be in one, and when I say that, I don't mean, oh, we just declare that we're conscious. No, it takes two people who are willing and devoted. And while you're walking this path individually, you will be so triggered in the container of your relationship because they will show you everything. And the choice is, will you project and will you blame, or will you choose to go the fuck into it and really find your power in all of it? And then what does that actually create in the relationship? Like, obviously, like, my partner does the work and like he constantly shines a light. That's what he's done on all my codependency and all of my like enmeshment and attachment programs and wounds. And every time we talk about it, he comes from such a place of groundedness, even when he says like, there's recently was really interesting. He said, hey, I just need the day to myself. And before, years ago, I would spiral, right? And this time around, when he said that, I felt a little bit of stuff there, right? And I was like, okay. And I went and I processed it. And it was the remnants still of like, I'm afraid to be alone and I'm afraid to be without you. And are you leaving me? And like, is this the end? My mind goes into like crazy places. And then after I processed, I came back to him and I said, when you said that before, like it triggered me a little bit. He's like, oh yeah, I felt it. And he's like, and I just let you go and, honor what you needed to honor. Do you want to share what you experienced and like what you saw? And we just ended up having this like beautiful conversation without judgment, without, all this stuff. And it's just such an incredible way to move through a relationship, because we are not of the old world anymore, where all we do is blame each other and we're victims and you do everything to me. It's like, and in that, how much honoring I want to honor when he needs time alone instead of taking that personally. My wounds and my programs, when I take that, it's got nothing to do with me. It's everything to do with, I love myself and I'm going to let you know right now that I need the next 5 hours to me. And for me to be able to go, oh my God, I love and I honor that for you 100%. I'll go do my thing. And then later, maybe we'll hang out. Like how powerful and freeing is that to create that in a relationship?
Absolutely. I completely agree. Him and I are both very energetically sensitive beings, and we sleep alone at least 50% of the time these days.
Really?
Out of love. Out of complete love. And we've been doing it for quite some time, but it would definitely be very triggering for the person, whoever suggested it, the other person would get triggered.
Right.
And we'd move through our things. And, now sometimes it's 6 or 7 nights in a row that it's like, hey, you want to sleep together or apart? And one person says, oh, I could cuddle. And the other person says, I've got some work to do on myself. I'm going to sleep alone tonight. And it just brings back that energy of appreciation. Whenever we do align to share the bed together, it's because we're actually both choosing to be there together. And then the level of love it creates versus having to share the bed when really I want to process my own stuff. I know when I sleep, I am deeply processing my subconscious stuff.
Yeah.
And I know that when his energy is in my presence, it's a completely different night. Every night, always. So I want to be able to choose when I'm choosing to share my energetic field with this human, and also in divine separation when I'm choosing to sleep alone to do my own work at night.
Yeah, I mean, highly sensitive people, we need a lot of time alone. We need a lot of time alone. And I used to think that was like a really bad thing or something was wrong with me. And it's like, no, that's just what you need for you to thrive. Like, that's it. And
absolutely
honor that in yourself so you can honor in others. And I'd love for you to end this on this, but what I'll say to anybody that has, wounds around attachment and codependency, it's going to be painful for you to feel them. It is, because it's going to bring up the real deep stuff, right? But truly, I'm going to say this to everybody at home, allow yourself to really open up to them, allow yourself to be with them, allow yourself to really see to where this was all created, because I guarantee you, when you start to really alchemize the attachment and like divine detachment starts coming through, all we've ever been are prisoners of our stuff. And especially with attachment, oh my God, the more work you do around it, the more you alchemize it, man, what you will experience is something that you've never experienced before. So I really encourage everybody, like as you hear this and you go, oh my God, I run these programs, great. Really spend some time with it and open to it, because what's on the other side is it's elite for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to end it on this note, actually, because as I was moving through this process of separating with the one partner, I was seeing with clarity at times, right? And then my mind would come up and try to trick me, and all the programs would run, and I'd practice the work and drop back in, feel the clarity, see the truth, hear the same answer over and over and over. And then, of course, my mind would get kerfuffled. And it just so happened that I had a Rachel Fiori session as well as another psychic session within like the same week or something. And both of them, I asked them, what do you see in these two partnerships that I have? And I was gifted, the same answer from both of them. But I wasn't told what one was which. So I was told that one of them is a divine partnership. I can see you going so far. One of them is enabling, bypassing, and distraction. And same. And then the other, that was Fiori's input. And then the other psychic's input was, I can see that one of the relationships is ending very soon, and another one could last a very long time.
Wow.
And we hung up the call, and I actually ended up reaching out to her after and said, can you just tell me what one's which? Because my mind was trying to trick me, because through the attachment, I actually wanted to hold on to the one that felt better, not the one that was a harder relationship. And again, this comes down to what we've been conditioned in our society, that a quality relationship means that it always feels good, and that it's playful, and that it's easy, and that we get along really well.
Yeah.
And like this experience, it's shown me millions of things, but one of the biggest things that I've seen is, again, the backwards world that we'd been conditioned in, that the relationship of sustenance, of value, of growth was actually the one that, my mind was doing everything to stay away from, to let go of. I was even pleading with the universe at times, please let me let go of this one that feels so uncomfortable, and let me hold on to this other one that I know is bad for me. It's like the junkie addicted to the drug, right?
Right. It's you wanted to stay with the one that was feeding your programs, and you didn't want to stay in the ones that was showing you your programs.
100%.
Yeah.
Even now, there's the thought that crosses my mind. Did I make a mistake? And I have to be like, oh, hello, lack of trust. Hello. Right?
Yeah, beautiful.
It's mind-blowing, literally mind-blowing, that our minds are so tricky and crazy. And, just to know this work and to be able to dive into all of this stuff.
Yeah.
See the insanity for what it really is, and also succumb to all the mistakes, and then, see it in hindsight. Because, the projection and the blame and the victim still happens sometimes, but it's caught pretty quickly afterwards.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't happen at all. Sometimes we have these divine connections. Sometimes it's in the recognition that one of us just behaved really, really unconsciously and horrifically, but it doesn't take very long anymore.
Yeah. Beautiful. And it'll just take shorter and shorter and shorter, and we'll just alchemize faster and faster and faster.
Yep, absolutely. Until we're doing it real time. Rachel keeps saying real time healing.
Yeah.
Not there yet fully, but getting there.
Getting there. Beautiful shares. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us, Christie. And to anybody at home, if you're like, hey, I am ready to heal some programs, well, you're in luck, because our summer semester starts May 6th, and we are doing student enrollment meetings soon. They're rolling out next week. So please visit masterselfuniversity.com. Really sign up for a free student enrollment to really learn about everything that we offer, especially as a first-year student. And we will see you in class in May. Thanks, Christie. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.